The story of Yavanas. Om Sai Ram. Palani Swami said, "My dear disciples, the nature of Sripada Srivallabha cannot be imagined. One cannot describe his place. His wish is to coordinate all the dharmas and traditions in the world and merge them in Sanatan Dharma. He will establish the Sanatan Dharma in the whole universe at the end of Kali Yuga." Sripada Srivallabha told John, "Yehovah means I am. That is the form of Parabrahma. All the consciousness reflecting in the universe is the consciousness of Jesus Christ, who is popular as the Son of God. The consciousness purified is the same as sacred flowing grace, which gives peace and happiness. All those three forms are mine, and as a result of your pure love, you could get my darshan, which is very difficult to get otherwise." Similarly, the Yavan Dharma also is an inherent part of the essence of Datta. A Mahatma by the name of Mahamathi was a devotee of formless Makeshwar. He used to call God as Allah. He saw all the seven heavens. He wanted to see Allah, but he saw only his reflection. The Yavan Sannyasi whom you saw was a Brahmin who was born in the lineage of Bharadwaj. He lost his parents during his childhood. He was brought up by a Muslim fakir and learnt Muslim dharmas. He learnt Hindu dharmas by staying with a Hindu Mahatma. He learnt Kriya Yoga from a great yogi in Varanasi. He then met a Datta Avadhuta and asked for silver coins. As his tin would not get filled up, the Avadhuta put 2 khajur fruits in it. Then he was satisfied. With that, the Chaitanyam of Datta flowed into him. Later, he came to Dishila Nagaram. It was a small village in a forest area. When he got to the thick forest, Sripada Srivallabha sat on a stone and meditated. If anyone does meditation sitting on that stone, he would get wonderful results. Sripada Srivallabha did tapas for 12 years in the underground house you saw under the neem tree. During those 12 years, he got the power of tapas equivalent to that of doing tapas for 12,000 years. Sripada Srivallabha's body got transformed into a 12,000-year-old one. The whole cave was occupied by his hair. His eyebrows also became very thick. To see his eyes, one would have to lift the eyebrows with very difficulty. Sripada Srivallabha gave that fruit of tapas to that young sannyasi. When that young monk was about 4 years old, Sripada Srivallabha started tapas in that cave in his hidden form. When that sannyasi then became 16 years old, he completed 12 years of tapas. My dear, these incidents which I am telling you are going to happen in the coming centuries. They are not the present incidents. Sripada Srivallabha will manifest with the name of Narasimha Saraswati and will be there for 80 years with that name and form. He will later be in deep meditation incognito in Kadli Vanam for 300 years. He will later take the name of Swami Samarth in Prajnapur and will later merge in Mallikarjuna Lingam in Sri Sailam. But the Yavan sannyasi whom you saw will also be in an old aged form. Sripada Srivallabha will put his Chaitanyam in that young sannyasi and make him equal to him. My dear Shankar, Sripada Srivallabha did intense penance for 12 years in the middle of those 4 Nanda Deeps. He divided the whole universe into 16 parts and illustrated the 4 parts of Brahman as follows. Symbolically, for the 4 parts of Brahman, he lighted those 4 Nanda Deeps with his yogic fire, and he remained in penance thereafter. The sides east, west, south and north are the colors of the first part. People who worship them will get divine glow. The Kalash in the second part are earth, space, sky and ocean. Those who worship them will become endless and conquer the worlds. The Kalash in the third part of Brahman are fire, sun, moon and electricity. Those who worship them will become lustrous and conquer worlds. The Kalash in the fourth part are life, eye, ear and mind. Those who worship them will become established in them. Moreover, one gets knowledge if the north side is conquered. If the south is conquered, he will not have problems from Bhut, Pret and Pishach. If the east is conquered, one gets wealth, and if the west is conquered, the king becomes favorable. If one conquers all the 4 sides, he will get Digvijayam. Sripada Srivallabha has the sides as his clothes. He has spread to the endless of all the sides, so he is called Digambara. Sri Datta Digambara is the name. Sri Datta Digambara is the same as Sripada Srivallabha Digambara. From the gross, subtle and casual bodies of Sripada Srivallabha, thousands and thousands of rays and kalas will be emanating. Some rays become as avatars. After completing the tasks given to them, they will be merging into the original consciousness of Sripada Srivallabha. He would do creation, protection, annihilation, retrogression and graceful acts simultaneously. The vibrations seen in the creation of worlds are called Shrishti Tattvam. Their preservation and protection is called Sthiti Tattvam. Their annihilation is called Laya Tattvam. The returning of those vibrations into their origin is called Tirodhana. The vibrations related to compassion and pity on the jivas are called Anugraham. Man becomes weaklings with the passage of yugas. Therefore, the Almighty descends to lower states based on the prayers of sages. The incarnation of the Lord in a human body is an indication of His complete grace. This descent of the Lord to lower levels enables humans to obtain excellent results with very little effort. Therefore, human beings in Kali Yuga are very fortunate. By mere remembrance, the grace of Lord Datta would be available. There are many opportunities for the downfall of man in Kali Yuga, but the number of opportunities for obtaining the grace of Sripada Srivallabha is twofold. This is sacrosanct truth. Remembrance, adoration, and other activities establish association with Lord Sripad. By these, all the sinful acts, impure sensual influences, and behavioral patterns of the devotees enters into the consciousness of Lord Sripad, and auspicious vibrations enters into his devotees. Sripada Srivallabha destroys those heaps of sins and black auras which entered into his consciousness by taking a single dip in a holy river, or he will burn them into ashes in the blazing fire of his yoga. He will personally do penance and dedicate the fruits of that penance to his devotees. Thus, he protects the devotees without violating the principle of karma. If necessary, he commands the inert karmic nature and grants liberation for those who take refuge in his auspicious feet. He destroys karma for the welfare of his devotees every second in a very ferocious form. Therefore, those who surrender to his feet gets freedom from the shackles of karma even without being aware of it. When Palani Swami explained the facts in the above manner, I was very bold to ask him a question regarding a doubt that had cropped up in my mind. I asked, Swami, I heard that when Saturn afflicts for 7.5 years, even Shankara cannot escape from the trouble. Please tell me how Sri Guru Sarvabhauma wards off afflictions from planets. My dear Shankara, the planets in the zodiac do not have friendship or enmity towards living beings. When a person is born, the planetary positions forms according to his past karmas. He derives good and evil effects according to the movement of the planets. When the subtle rays from the planets cause ill effects and mantra, tantra, yantra remedies cannot abate them, one has to resort to jap, tap and homa practices. When they also cannot alleviate the suffering, one has to take refuge in the padukas of Sri Guru. Sripada Srivallabha is omnipotent. Good and evil forces also exist. The vibrations of those good and evil forces cause good and bad developments respectively. Each planet has a dominance on a particular part of the human anatomy. When planetary afflictions takes place, the relevant part of the human body ruled by the adverse planet becomes sick. Undesirable results follow when the subtle vibrations flowing from the universal consciousness are received. Variations takes place in the attraction and repulsion caused by the vibrations. A person who is up till now in good company suddenly will be subjected to ill effects like bad company, bad friendship with the low class people, unreasonable quarrels, loss of relatives, disputes with family members, and reduction in the power of personal attraction. The universal forces creates vibrations continuously. They work steadily in a state of sthiti for some time in the concerned persons. After some time, they leave those persons and reach the bodies of persons who are destined to come under their influence. They begin to give results again according to the rotation of the wheel of time. People who are devotees of God and observe spiritual practices like japa and tapa can get some respite to some extent from the planet's rigor. Sages conduct various kinds of sacrifices for the universal welfare. They dedicate their spiritual power derived through tapas for the well-being of humanity. As a result of this practice, harmful influences arising in the universe reverts to their origin instead of harassing man. It means that they return to the center of their origin. This can be termed as Tirodhana, granting of abundant auspicious results even for small amount of good deeds is called grace. My son, I explained to you the concepts of Srushti, Sthiti, Laya, Tirodhana and Anugraha according to the doctrine of Kriya Yoga. In future, the powers of Sripada Srivallabha will flow in a large measure in that Muslim fakir you saw in your meditation. You saw 4 Nanda lamps in the underground cellar beneath the neem tree. This is an extraordinary matter. Sripada Srivallabha granted you this experience with a great intention in mind. He only knows the inner purpose of it. His divine acts are indeed superb. They have a deep purpose. Moreover, they may be divine secrets not to be divulged to others. I can only explain to you to the extent He permitted me. The entire creation works under the guidance of Sripada Srivallabha. He is the authority for Himself. The glorious yogic powers of the Master of this universe are immeasurable and cannot be comprehended in terms of measurements, limits and quantities. My mind immensely rejoiced at the explanation of Sri Palaniswami. From the time I started the Udupi area till I reached Kurvapuram, many wonderful and strange things were taking place. I wanted to write a book about them and obtained the permission of the Sri Guru Sarvabhauma. I wanted to request Sripada Srivallabha in this regard after getting his darshan. Sri Palaniswami grasped the feelings in my mind easily and said, I have understood the ideas in your mind. You want to write his history for the benefit of the devotees of the future. Sripada Srivallabha will surely bless all your efforts. Then Sri Palaniswami asked Madhav to speak about his meditation experiences. Madhav said, Mahatma, I saw in my meditation a Brahmin sannyasi wearing a loincloth. He used to worship Agni and the sun. He was talking to a Veda Pandit. I want to send this coconut you gave me to the Muslim fakir. That Muslim fakir is in a higher state than me. He is like an elder brother to me. He knows past, present and future. I will take the treatise written on the palm leaves named Sripada Srivallabha Charithamrutham present with you. I will give it to the Muslim fakir whom I revered as my elder brother. I will take his blessings. Are the things narrated in this true or fictitious? I will decide on how much truth is in there and how much fiction is in there. After deciding about it, I will write a treatise analyzing them. Then the Veda Pandit said, Sir, you will not be able to take the coconut I gave you to that Muslim fakir. Your effort will definitely be a waste. The Charitamurtam had already been written. It happened by the will of Sripada Srivallabha. This treatise, named Sripada Srivallabha Charithamrutham, is held in high esteem as a sacred book by all gods, rishis, and great people. This treatise was written on the command of Sripada. No one has the freedom to change even one single letter in this. This is with us for many generations. Sripad's command is that the ruined copy of this must be immersed in the Ganges river. We have been protecting it from many generations. Without Sripada's command, we do not reveal even to a great person the fact that a treatise like this exists. You seem to wish changing certain parts in this Charitamurtam. We belong to the family who feel the touch of Sripada's feet when we put our hands on this book. If you are greater than Sripada, your order is binding on us. You are in the attire of a sannyasi. We are householders. We cannot dare to oppose you. If you can take this coconut to Dishila Nagaram, I will give this Palmyra leaf copy to you, discard my whole thread, and declare myself as an untouchable. You say that the Muslim fakir knew about the Nanda Deepams. You also say that it is Dishila Nagaram only, and that in due course it acquires the name of Shiladhi Nagaram. An Avadhut in our family told me recently that he found a partial manifestation of Sri Dattatreya in Aurangabad and that he took him to Dishila Nagaram. Even if you go to Pithikapuram, you cannot install Sripada's Padukas there. Pithikapuram is an anthill of people like quarreling poisonous snakes. They spend time in vain arguments and counter-arguments and unnecessary disputes, but have no spiritual aspirations. If you install Sripada's Padukas in the house of our ancestors, it will be a happy thing for us. But you should have to get the grace of Sripada Srivallabha completely. Without the will of Sripada, not even one leaf on a tree will move. Our family does not need the name and fame, titles or honors given by ordinary people. We believe that Sripada will be moving as a small boy incognito in our house. Swami, this is what I saw in meditation. Palani Swami said, My dear children, that Veda Pandit belongs to the descendants of Sripada's maternal uncle. In their families, they feel Sripada as an incognito small boy. If anyone belonging to any caste, any race, any religion, any country, in any age feels Sripada Srivallabha as a divine child and has Vatsalaya Bhakti, Sripada Srivallabha will be living in their house as a boy undisguised. This was revealed by Sripad himself in Pithikapuram. Sri Sripada Srivallabha was born in his maternal grandfather's house in Pitikapuram. The people in that family migrated to other villages some years after Sri Vallabha left Pitikapuram. His family members also similarly migrated to other places. Sripada Srivallabha transferred his power completely into that Muslim fakir of Dishilanagar in later years. In Bengal, a great person by name of Gadadhar was born. He would worship Kalikamba. When he prayed for liberation, Jagat Janani did not agree. She asked him to take birth again for the sake of his followers and to grace them considering their merits and sins. He did not agree to take birth again. Then Kalikamba asked the Muslim fakir of Dishilanagar to come to her with his subtle body. That Muslim fakir remained dead for 3 whole days. He told his devotees, I will go to Allah and come back within 3 days. Kalikamba is none other than Vasavi Kanyaka Parameshwari present in Brihat Shilanagaram. This Muslim fakir was given the task of looking into the sins and merits of the followers of Gadadhar. Jagat Janani deposited part of herself in that Muslim fakir. Sripada Srivallabha also deposited a part of himself in the Muslim fakir. After 3 days, when that Muslim fakir came back into his gross body, he became the most powerful one. He served the masjid in which he lived as the mother. It was because of the of the Divine Mother entering into him, so he showed motherly affection towards his devotees. My dear, all these things I am narrating will be happening in the coming centuries. The Veda Pandit seen in meditation had a Vaishya as his dear friend. That Vaishya prayed to the Avadhuta who was wearing a loincloth, Swami, please accept our hospitality. We are Arya Vaishyas. Jagat Janani Vasavi Kanikamba was born in our caste. You please take the food materials and cook yourself. The Veda Pandit also prayed for the Yati to accept the great Vaishya's invitation. But the Yati, who was a Brahmin formalist, told him curtly that he would not accept the offered food materials as alms. This incident angered Sripada Srivallabha and Sri Vasavi Mata as well. They wanted to punish Avadhuta in order to remove the pride of his Brahmin birth. The Avadhuta reached Pitikapuram. The Brahmin community of Pitikapuram, who gave importance to customs and practice of external worship, grandly welcomed that Avadhuta. Sripada Srivallabha's maternal grandfather's house went into the hands of outsiders. After consulting the house owner, it was decided to install Sripada Srivallabha's padukas in the place where Sripad was born in that house. Silver padukas were installed in accordance with the scriptures. During the midnight hours, a thief entered that house. The house owner was also awake. The thief entered the room where the padukas were installed. The house owner told the thief, I have no belief at all that Sripada Srivallabha was a great avatar. I do not have any belief in this Avadhuta. You can take away these silver padukas and give me half of the amount you get when you sell them. The thief said, all right. On the next day, the padukas were not seen. The Avadhuta felt sorrow. Silver padukas were installed a second time. Worship was done grandly. During the midnight hours, the Avadhuta stayed in the same room near the Padukas. He was chanting sacred verses on Datta. As he was looking, the Padukas rose into the air. It hit hard on the head of the Avadhuta and then disappeared at once. The voice of Sripada Srivallabha was heard. I can make my body disappear. Can I not make these Padukas disappear? If the coconut had reached Dishila Nagaram, my maternal uncle would have to fulfill his hard oath. That is not agreeable to me. The coconut you sent was eaten away on the way, so there is no way you can be given the treatise Sripada Srivallabha Charithamrutham. Who do you think I am? I don't care whether you are a yogi or a bhogi. I am Madiga. My profession is to remove the skin and chappals out of it. There is no sin even if I remove your skin and make chappals. The voice roared. The Avadhuta shivered. On the next day, a great commotion occurred. Those who greatly honored him blamed him as a cheating sannyasi who stole the silver padukas for want of money. They demanded him to explain how the silver padukas disappeared when he himself was in the puja room. With the heaviness of insult, the yati left Pithikapuram. Palani Swami told us that this was going to happen in the future. He said, "My dears, there are many unbelievable Leelas in the history of Sripada. If anybody doubts or criticizes his history, he will become a Brahma Rakshas." Sri Vallabha made the people of Pithikapuram doubt the sincerity of the Avadhuta because the Avadhuta doubted the authenticity of the Charitamurtam. This was his Leela. Madhav asked, "Swami, shall I tell you about the event of my visit to Pithikapuram with my subtle body and the incidents that happened there?" Sri Palani Swami agreed. Madhav said, "I reached a house in Pithikapuram with my subtle body. At one place I noticed that all my powers were being attracted by two divine padukas staying incognito. The padukas at Sripada Srivallabha's birthplace. The installation of the idols of Sripada Srivallabha, Sri Dattatreya and Sri Narasimha Saraswati." Sri Palani Swami said, "Madhav, the house which you visited is the house of the maternal grandfather of Sripad Srivallabha and is the birthplace of Sripad Srivallabha. It has attracted all your powers. In the Patal, below the padukas, there are hermits doing penance from several hundreds of years. Sripad Srivallabha's padukas will be installed only in the birthplace of Sripad Srivallabha. After some years from the installation of the pious padukas there, the Sripad Srivallabha Charitamrutham comes to light effortlessly. In the place where we meditated, the idols of Sripad Srivallabha, Sri Dattatreya and his next incarnation Sri Narasimha Saraswati will be installed. Afterwards, many divine sportive plays will take place in that place." After that, Sri Palani Swami became silent. He asked the corpse of the youth buried near our cave to be exhumed. He began to chant the Pranav Om. After the body was taken out, Vyagreshwara Sharma came there with a loud roar of Sripad Rajaram Saranam Prapaday. Sri Palani Swami entered into the body of the young man. Vyagreshwara Sharma, who was in the body of a tiger, took away the body of Sri Palani Swami, which decayed with age to throw it into a nearby river. Palani Swami, who entered the new body, ordered, "Leave this place immediately. My dear Madhav, go to your Vichitrapuram. You saw the pious people of Pithikapuram in your subtle body. That is enough for you for this life. My dear Shankara, go to the great place Tirupati. Madhav, may the grace of Sripada Srivallabha be showered on you." Then Madhav went towards Vichitrapuram and I went towards Tirupati. Where is the end of the divine sportive place of Sripada Srivallabha? Om Sai Ram.